stocks, bonds, ETFs, straight out of downtown Chicago. This is Zach's Market Edge.
Welcome to Zach's Market Edge, the podcast about investing in your life. I'm your host, Tracy Reinick, and this week I'm joined by Zach's ETF strategist and the editor of Surprise Trader and the ETF investor, Eric Dutram. And our topic actually isn't any surprises or ETFs, but a more intriguing topic of the restaurant chains. I know I get asked this question all the time on Twitter, who is the next Chipotle? And I'm not talking about Chipotle now with its, issues with the restaurant food quality and all of that stuff. I'm talking about who can you invest in that you can get rich off of? Because that's really what has happened if you manage to get into Chipotle when it first went IPO. They went IPO on January 26, 2006. So they're just a little bit over 10 years now as a public company. And if you had gotten in right then, even with the recent pullback in the shares, you'd still be up 888%. So that's a pretty nice return. A few other restaurant chains have returned even better returns. If you happen to like coffee and you had bought Starbucks on that IPO on June 26, 1992, your return would actually be 17,000% right now. So you're not doing too badly in that one. So that's why everybody wants to know who's the next Chipotle? How can I get in? Maybe it's already out there and I don't know about it. So welcome, Eric. We're going to discuss all these great restaurants.
Thanks for having me. I know I'm a little out of my element here because you're really the restaurant expert here at Zach's.
Well,
I hope I can keep up.
Apparently, what does that say that I go to these fast food places? I don't know. Well, fast casual, I guess they're called now. So they're not all just, the chain kind of thing.
Class it up a little bit.
Right, yeah. Exactly. But let's start off talking about some chains that are out there people may be familiar with, but they actually aren't publicly traded yet. But they're ones I feel like everybody should keep an eye on because they may go public and, they might, you want to have them on your radar so that you can get in when they first go public, like people were able to do with Chipotle, because Chipotle actually was started in 1993. So you had a good amount of time, if you happen to have a Chipotle in your neighborhood, to figure out that restaurant chain that you liked it before it went IPO.
Definitely.
So I'd like to cover some of those.
Right. And I mean, these restaurants, as you sort of alluded to, it can take a while for them to build up this critical mass.
Definitely.
Where they're even in a position to go public, let alone become a nationwide or even a regional chain. So
right, and then even after
process.
even after they go public, it can take years, decades to even expand into all 50 U.S. states and then internationally and all of that. We think it happens quickly, but it really doesn't.
Right.
So it's never too late, I always like to say, because as we know, Chipotle is still expanding. They have a lot of growth still to come. I looked up how many restaurants they have. So since their founding in 1993, that's a couple decades they've been in on this game. They only have a little over 2,000 restaurants, and that's worldwide. They do have some international locations now,
but very few international, right?
Yeah, not that many, and
Yeah.
some over in Europe. So that leaves, like I said, still wide expansion possibilities.
But, the thing I wonder about with Chipotle is, does this whole Tex-Mex concept, does it translate to someone in, say, Sydney or
that's a whole other
Singapore
thing.
or whatever?
Right. That's what we should talk about when we're talking about which of these chains has the possibility of going big and even global, because you might think some of these types of food might not actually play well in certain locations. Right. I don't know. But let's start off. Do you want me to start?
Sure.
Okay.
I don't want to steal any of your thunder. I know what's coming.
Okay. I have to start off with, what I consider to be the best non-public chain in America, but they do have some global locations now, and that is the Panda Express, or just the Panda, as it's commonly known. They were founded in 1983 in Pasadena. Well, earlier, the Panda Inn in the 1970s in Pasadena. The Panda Express part of the chain, founded in 1983. It's still family-owned. And they have 1,800 stores globally now. So that's almost as many as Chipotle. People know them. They've got the famous orange chicken, which I just recently discovered was invented in 1987. That's their number one product. And they sell that at all the stores. They have no franchises, but they do have some outsiders that operate their branches. If it's in like a military base or amusement park, university, some things like that, they're not actually operating
Gotcha.
it. But mostly, they company owned. So I really like the Panda. I feel like they still have a big expansion possibilities. And the interesting thing about them is, as we were just talking about, like what kind of foods can expand. Chinese food, it's fairly well known in the United States now. American Chinese, as we like to call it, but it's still, isn't what I would consider to be like, it's not a hamburger. It's not first on everybody's plates in like smaller town America. It might be the only Chinese restaurant in a smaller
For sure.
town. So they do have some marketing issues, I think, going forward with that. But, only 1,800 of them. I feel like there's still big expansion here.
Yeah, they've definitely got plenty of expansion opportunities, and I don't share the same love for Panda that you do.
Come on.
For the listeners out there, Tracy basically goes to Panda Express every week for the last 7 years at least, something like that.
Well, it's been numerous
just 5.
years. I don't know how many. It took me a while to discover it. It's true.
Yeah, so I've never really shared that love for the Panda, as you like to call it. But I was thinking about these restaurant chains before the podcast, and I was thinking, well, what makes Chipotle so great? It's the repeatability, that assembly line technique, and that you always know if you're in California or Boston, you're going to get the same type of thing. And I thought,
it's also, isn't it really the good for you, the healthy factor too, or like the natural ingredients and all of that, sustainable.
Well, but I was thinking more than any of that sustainability stuff. What other restaurants incorporate these same techniques? And granted, Panda doesn't do it with the same health consciousness.
Not as much, but now they're trying to turn more towards that. I mean, you're not going to make orange chicken any healthier. That's one of the things. But they do say, they have fresh vegetables every day and things like that.
Right.
They're trying to turn more towards that because that is what's in right now.
Yeah, definitely. But, I think they have this same assembly line repeatability approach that is really what I think made Chipotle so great. So I've come around that maybe Panda could be the next Chipotle if it ever does make its IPO. It does seem like they've already grown a sizable amount, so maybe we're going to look at some smaller companies. But I like the concept, and I think the Chinese Americanized Chinese food really plays well to this whole assembly line route.
Yeah, you definitely know what you're getting if you're in one in Iowa or if you're in one in California. It's the same thing. So your expectations are met every time.
Definitely. And I think that's really served Chipotle well. And there's very few ingredients at Chipotle. It's really either, chicken, steak. I think they have a pork one now. And that's really it. I mean, Panda has a couple more ingredients, but everything starts with that rice. And, you have a very limited menu, relative to other restaurants. And I think that's also kind of a key for some of these companies that want to grow very quickly in this restaurant space. It's a very difficult market.
Yeah. Now, one other thing I will just mention about Panda that for years people said that Chinese could not be mass marketed like in a chain type of way because there weren't enough cooks to cook with the wok because the woks are very difficult. But so far, they have 1,800 of them. I haven't heard, hey, we can't find enough cooks. To service all that. But that is an issue that would be, unique to a Panda type of environment. But they are proving the critics wrong who said that this could not be, in some kind of big chain because of the cooking issue.
Definitely.
So that's something to watch.
Yeah. Do you think there's any other cuisines where this might be a problem? Like let's say like an Indian food?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Not because the wok, I think, is so... Well, I mean, it would be like Thai or anybody else who uses a wok. It would be similar, but...
Yeah, that's an area I think investors definitely need to consider. And then if you look at some of the pizza chains out there, I know Blaze Pizza.
Okay, are you talking about them? Is that one you like?
It's one I don't like, actually.
What?
And I
actually like them.
The food is great. I really like going there, but I think the pizza concept is pretty poor for this assembly line system. And have you ever been there when it's really busy?
No.
So try going there, next time at lunch.
So it doesn't cook in 180 seconds or whatever?
There's no good system to get the pizza through the line quickly. And then a big line really develops. They need some sort of oven where, the person just puts it in, like at a Potbelly's place, and then you get the pizza on the other end. Right now, it's kind of this haphazard system of, okay, we'll shove the pizzas in this giant oven, and hopefully we got it right. I think there's more variability in that approach, and I think that's going to hurt them in the long run.
Okay, Blaze has 116 locations now. That's a lot.
That is.
They're expanding really quickly. They're expecting to open up 96 more restaurants in 2016. In 5 years, this is their goal. They expect to be the 5th largest pizza chain.
Wow.
But as we know, the pizza is very mom and pop dominated.
Yeah, very fragmented market.
So it's not that hard to get up into the top 5, but the other 5 big players are obviously Pizza Hut, Domino's, Little Caesars, Papa John's, and then they would be number 5.
Okay.
But they only dominate about 20% of the whole market anyways. But their same-store sales in 2015 were up 7%. That's very, very good.
Yeah.
And they had that nice endorsement deal with LeBron James. So that
I think he's an investor as well.
Yeah, it gets them out there. And apparently they just opened up some kind of huge flagship restaurant at Walt Disney World, which will also get their name known. That's in Florida. So I kind of like it that they're rolling it out quickly, but I don't know. I mean, pizza, a lot of people think, oh, that's done now. Domino's has been around forever, these ones. But as we said, that's a small percentage of the market. The pizza market is huge.
Yeah, definitely.
Americans can't get enough of it.
Yeah, and then we also have, I think it's Papa Murphy's.
Oh, yeah.
FRSH is the symbol there. They got this take it away and bake it yourself at home.
That's right. People like that.
I don't know. That's not for me. I don't think I've really used my
home?
oven yet, but
you want it delivered hot.
Exactly. So, that's another one in there. And as you said, the pizza market is just so, insanely competitive. It's hard for me to jump in based on that. And then this other issue, try going to one of these Blaze type places when it's really busy. And it doesn't seem like they have the system down yet. I think if they can fix that problem, it will be a huge game changer for the company and other ones in this space too.
Okay, so it's one to keep an eye on.
Definitely.
For people. What about these kind of fresh, healthy, good for you type of chains that are popping up? I know we have a couple here in Chicago, and they've been all over the major metropolitan areas, at least. One of the other big ones here in Chicago is called Protein Bar. They're also in Boulder, Denver, Washington, D.C., but they're actually renaming themselves because I never liked that name.
Yeah.
If they're listening to this, I'm glad you're renaming it because Protein Bar, it just sounds almost too good for you. I don't need to go in there and get some protein or something. Right. But eventually I did go in there and I do like it. They were going to rename it and kind of mess around with the menu a bit to add on more of the proteins. It'll still be healthy and good for you, but they were big in the quinoa area.
Yes, you got the
I have trouble with that saying that word. But they're big in that, and they're kind of going to move a little bit away from that. And apparently, they're going to be adding farro. That's what it is. I can't say that one either. I had to look that one up. That's an ancient grain, Eric. You have to show some respect. That's some kind of ancient strain of wheat that goes way back. Maybe that's why it's farro, like to the pharaohs.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, me neither.
Wow. And it's apparently one of the oldest grains out there, but it's super good for you. It has twice the amount of protein and fiber as normal grains. It has all this magnesium and it helps your cholesterol and all this stuff. So they're going to be adding that into some of their dishes. It's not gluten-free, so if you have that issue, you can't eat that. But
you have to stick with the quinoa.
Yes. So they still will have some of that, the quinoa on the menu too, but they're going to reduce that and it'll still be healthy for you. So I'm interested to see what they do because they are a popular chain here in Chicago and they've been expanding pretty rapidly. I don't know how many restaurants total they have.
Yeah,
probably
sure
like 40 or 50 by now.
You think?
Yeah, because they're pretty prominent here in Chicago.
I like the place, but I think it's a little too pricey for most people to go.
Well, a wrap is like $10.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's a problem. And then they have these little bowls, like quinoa bowl.
Yes.
Actually, I used to get those frequently, but same thing. It's like $7, and you can't really. I don't know. I think for a lot of consumers, they say they want to be healthy.
But Chipotle's more expensive.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
but
people
you
used to say that might doom them.
You get a lot more food, though, or at least it has the appearance of more food. I know some of these grains are very filling, but I think that's people say they like to be very healthy, but at the end of the day, it's kind of questionable how healthy a lot of people actually
Okay,
are.
another chain I see lines at, it just opened here in Chicago, is the Freshie. They're Toronto based. They have 175 locations so far. None of these are public. These ones we're suggesting. And then there's Sweet Green. They have 40 locations. They have some big name investors. The Shake Shack founder is an investor there, and they've raised $90 million as of last summer in backing to expand. But they all kind of have the same menu. Like, it's sustainable. We switch our menu with what's out there. It's healthy. It's good. I don't know why am I saying it like that? I don't know,
Yeah.
but I feel like there's a lot of competition in this space.
Right.
And who will come out on top, we don't know.
Yeah, and the what was it called? Sweet greens?
Yeah, Sweet Green.
It's just salads, or mostly
Yeah, it
salads,
looks like,
right?
but this is your concept that you do like, the Chipotle concept of
Yes.
you go in and you go down the line and you make your salad bowl and
Definitely. I do like that. I just wonder, is that really like a dinner spot? Are people going to go there for dinner?
I don't know.
To just
No
get a
one really
salad?
goes to Protein Bar for dinner. Is it even open for dinner?
I'm not
I don't
not
know.
sure, but I think some of these they pigeonhole themselves into this lunch market so much that I think that also reduces their ability to expand past a couple hours of the day. So back to Freshie, I think it's very similar to Protein Bar, but
Yeah.
not quite as good in my opinion. I actually went to
Oh.
Freshie last week. Definitely a big Protein Bar fan. I just wonder on the expansion capabilities and for this sort of mass market appeal. Like,
What did you get there? What'd you have
um,
at Freshie?
I had a quinoa, some sort of wrap thing.
Okay. You must like the quinoa.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people, and sort of you touched upon it with the pronunciation issues. It's still not even a
Right. No one
very
knows what
popular
that
thing.
is.
Yeah.
Right.
So I
But this
think
takes time. No one knew what a taco was either in the 1980s. They didn't. If anyone wants to know how this could be, they need to watch that movie with Kevin Costner about the running team in California. So he moves from Minnesota. He goes out to California. The kids are tired, hungry. They go, it's a small little town, but it's mainly has Mexican immigrants there. And they go, and the only place open is like the taco place. And they go in there and like, oh, what is this? Can't we get a burger or whatever? And they're like, oh, we have, burritos and all this. And they're like, okay, we'll try that. And it seems weird now. Like, what do you mean they're going to try it? But it takes a while for these concepts to spread out of certain communities.
okay. So
And
quinoa's the
speaking
new
of
taco.
which, well, I don't know, maybe. I don't know. It does take a while, so we'll see. But I do want to bring that up because one of my picks for a company that's actually public is Fiesta Restaurant Group. Well, let's start with El Pollo Loco. That's also one of my picks.
Okay.
And I bring that up because that is also a Mexican specialty, like this grilled chicken. It's actually pretty healthy for you because it is grilled, not fried. And it's super popular all over Mexico. There's a whole bunch of chains down there, which I often thought like, some of those should come up north, open up here. They'd be popular. But Pollo Loco is already here. It's LA based. They've been there for a long time, but they're spreading pretty rapidly across like the southern states, which makes sense. They're in, let me look here. It was in like
Arizona. Or
yeah,
something
they're in
like that.
Arizona. They just opened up in Tucson. They're opening up a lot of stores in Houston and Dallas, which makes sense. And then they have, a few, I think in Utah. So they're getting in all those areas where, people would be familiar with their food. But what happens when they try to go into Wyoming? I don't know.
Yeah, it is. I did go to one on a recent LA trip, and it is a bit more, I guess, authentic is probably the better word for it, than like a Chipotle or something like that, which is more this Tex-Mex,
right,
Americanized blend that I think a lot of people are more familiar with.
They now have 430 locations, though, so they're not as small as you might think. So that is definitely one to watch. Their ticker is LOCO. They're not growing super quickly right now as far as earnings growth. So, that's something to watch. You don't want to get it when it's too pricey. You might want to wait for another pullback in the shares.
Okay.
But I do like that concept. I do think it has real growth possibilities. The brand is well known and there isn't a ton of competition, but we'll see.
Yeah. One that I was looking at, and it's sort of a cop-out answer, but I think Chipotle is the next Chipotle.
Oh, boy. Well, there is, people always say like, oh, that's done now, but only 2,000 2,000 restaurants.
Well,
That's it.
and not even that, but they also have a Asian concept, Shop House.
That's
I
right.
think there's a lot of potential there.
How many of those? They only have like 6 or
it-
8 of them
it's
now or
yeah, it's
something.
very few. I know there are a couple in DC, one here in Chicago, and then there's a couple out in Los Angeles as well. There might be a few other locations, but it it's a very similar concept to the Chipotle Tex-Mex thing. They give you like some rice, and then you add some vegetables, and then you put the meat. It's basically the exact same thing. Even the font and the the lettering in the restaurant was very similar. So you're going to get that. It's basically the same thing, just with Asian spices instead
Is
of
that a
Tex-Mex.
competitor to Panda, do you think?
I think so.
Ultimately?
I think so.
Okay.
So we'll have to see if it pans out. It's definitely taken a while for it to sort of grow here, but I think that's definitely an area to watch for Chipotle. In the future. They also have a pizza concept, but as I sort of said before, not a huge fan of the pizza idea until they can get this assembly line thing a little better with the pizza concept. And then sort of on the higher end, it's not really this assembly line thing, and the potential for growth isn't as high. But I really like Fogo de Chao. I think they're operating in a really unique market of this. It's kind of all you can eat steak. It is a little on the pricier side. It's about $50. Actually, just went there this past weekend, so maybe it's just on the
Wow.
mind. But
That's a big spending, though.
it is a big spend, and they actually have pretty big margins. I think it's among the highest margins in the industry.
Yeah, that's what
And
I've
it's
heard.
because they cut off little slices of meat for you, and then so you don't really. Oh, I think a lot of people don't probably get their money's worth. I'm definitely not in that camp, but
They shudder when they see you coming in there.
definitely. They put us off in the corner. But they have like a salad bar, and like I said, it's a little on the pricier side, but the margins are great because I think a lot of people fill up on the salad and the bread, and they don't realize they might not be getting as much
But this
meat.
is a legitimate Brazilian steakhouse, right?
It is.
They started down there and then they came up here.
Yes.
How many are there up here? There's like a dozen of them or so, right?
There might be a little more than
Maybe
that.
more.
The company just went public. It's trading at still a pretty reasonable valuation. I think the PE is around 20. I know we have a sell on it right now, but I am looking at this as more of like a longer term play. I think they stand to really benefit from this market, and I think there are few competitors that have their size in this really unique area of the world. And who doesn't like steak?
Well, vegetarians.
Well, okay.
But they got the big salad bar for them.
That's right.
They have some other options.
That's right.
But this is one of the issues we were just talking about with the Panda and not having enough wok cooks, because don't they actually have like some kind of special Brazilian chefs are like there they have to hire? I did read this.
Yeah.
And so that
there's some worker program I think they have to
they
get
bring
them
them from
on.
Brazil or something. They have to get in, a special visa to bring them in here because there's no one here who knows how to cook like that.
Yeah.
So it is some kind of special thing that could limit to some extent some of the growth.
Definitely. But they're still pretty small right now. I think I don't think that's as much of a concern right now. Further down the line it could be, but I think there's still plenty of runway before that happens.
Okay. And then one other one that I did want to bring up that I brought up just a few minutes ago is Fiesta Restaurant Group, and they are FRGI. They actually have 2 chains. They have Taco Cabana, which I've never been all that interested in. I mean, it's a Chipotle competitor and all of that, but we've been there. We've seen that. But their other big chain, the one that has really been driving the growth, is the Pollo Tropical. I don't know how to pronounce that one either. I'm not from Florida, obviously. They have them all down in Florida for the most part, but they have been expanding that chain pretty rapidly across like Texas and the South. But they're also big in Caribbean because it's Caribbean food. So separate from Pollo Loco, which is more the Mexican spices and all of that, Tropical has like the Caribbean-ish flavor, pineapple-y
like
towards
a
that.
jerked chicken type thing? Or?
But like more the fruity side. And that's why they're big in Florida. But they're in the Bahamas, Guatemala, Panama, Trinidad and Tobago, and Venezuela. They have franchises and stuff all down there. They have, like I said, been expanding, but the company's mainly been expanding the Pollo Tropical. They opened up 32 of those in 2015 and only 2 Taco Cabanas. And then they're expecting to open up 36 to 40 of them this year, and then only 4 Taco Cabanas. But they also did announce they're going to split off the Taco Cabana and they're going to split the chains. say bye-bye to Taco Cabana, put new management. They're going to put 2 good management teams in there, split them because the chains have nothing to do with each other. Pollo Tropical is expanding faster, and I really like that chain, but they're not going to do it till 2017 or 2018. Okay. Get everything in place. Now, these guys actually have a pretty good history of dealing with spin-offs and all of that because they used to be part of Carol's Restaurant Group, which owns a ton of Burger King franchises. And then they also own these 2 brands. They spun those off in 2012. So they've had a couple years on their own now to grow these chains. And they're really, like I said, expanding that Pollo Tropical. And that doesn't have a lot of competition.
Okay.
Like, who else is serving Caribbean type food?
Yeah, and that's what I like. I like when they're in this more specific market.
Niche.
So,
but can it play in Wyoming or Montana?
Yeah.
I don't know. Will someone eat that up there? I don't know. Yeah. But the market is still big in the areas where they will like this kind of food. So
they're still pretty small.
Yes.
And it does seem like spin-offs have had a pretty good track record in the restaurant space. Just in general. I mean, Chipotle was a spin-off from McDonald's. And we've seen I think Darden had a recent spin-off.
Yeah, they spun off the Red Lobster.
Right. And so we've seen some other types of smaller spin-offs here. And it seems like for the most part, it's been, it's really helped shareholders unlock some value. So hopefully they'll be the same thing here.
Yeah, that's what the analysts already think about this spin-off. Because as I said, Pollo Tropical tends to have same-store sales growth that's a little bit stronger and just a little different kind of competition. So it will unleash potential in both these chains to go their own way. Figure out their own destinies, as the saying goes. Okay, this is a lot of good ideas. I hope people, manage to get a sense of what's going on out there. There's even more. We didn't talk about the burgers, but you and I have talked about those before. But a lot of those chains are expanding. Some are still private over there, and we've got the Shake Shacks of the world. And
I think we'll have to do a burger update.
We might because that was a fun one, and that they're kind of in their own space right now because they're so hot. But if you want outside of the burgers, we gave you a whole bunch of different options about what's going on out there. And I know there's more. I'll probably get some tweets like, Tracy, you didn't talk about my favorite, Mediterranean grill chain in Kentucky. So that's fine. You should send me tweets on whatever else is going on out there because there's certainly more than this. And a lot of them start as regional chains and then expand out from there. So being here in Chicago, unless they've come here, or I haven't visited, the town where they're located. Right. I don't know what's going on. So you all know what's best in your neck of the woods. And there are some chains that, have really been killing it regionally. There's like Krispy Kreme. That was a regional chain for sure originally. Definitely. And then expanded national.
Dunkin' Donuts is, I'm from the Northeast. It's very popular out there. It took a while to get out west. So.
Oh, yeah. They're barely still out there. So let me recap some of our tickers here. Of course, there was Chipotle, CMG. Fogo de Chao is just Fogo, right?
Yep.
FOGO. We had Pollo Loco, they're LOCO. We had Papa Murphy's, if you're interested in a little bit of different take on the pizza, that's FRSH. We had Fiesta Restaurant Group, which is FRGI. Is that everybody?
I think
the
that's
main
it.
ones.
And then actually there's a restaurant ETF out there just launched. BITE is the symbol there. So it's going to have all your restaurants. It's
BITE, that's so
great
clever.
Symbol. It's not very popular just yet, but
how many are in there?
I'm not sure.
It's probably like 20 to 40 or something like that, right? At least.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can own all of them this way.
That's right.
I kind of like that. All right. I have to check into that.
Yeah.
Of course, you had to get in one of your ETFs while we're on.
Of course. It wouldn't be...
why didn't I think of that?
Why have me on if I'm not going to talk about ETFs at all, right?
Right. I'm surprised it just launched, you said?
Yeah.
Surprised.
Yeah, it took a while for some reason. I don't really know why.
I mean, why? How could there not be one for restaurants?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
No. All right. So this wraps up another week of the podcast here. But if you want to listen to more of what we've talked about, including our burger episode, which was a couple months back, you can check us out on soundcloud.com. And we're also on iTunes. And you can find the old podcast also on Zax.com. You can also read Eric's articles on ETFs and check those out. I'm sure he's written about Byte in the past and probably will in the future. And you can catch us both on Twitter. Eric's at Eric Dutram on Twitter, and I'm at my name, Tracy Reineck, on Twitter. And definitely tweet us your restaurants because I'm all ears. So for Tracy and Eric here in Chicago, I'll see you next week.